Hi, it's Peg and Des on
Scandal.
So Mama Pope is a terrorist.
Wow.
Did you see that coming?
No.
Okay, neither did I. I'm a little confused about actually what happened in the last 5 minutes. Before we dive in, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to our channel and leave us comments.
Absolutely. I know you have a lot to say about this episode, and make sure to check out the other videos on our channel. There were just two very superficial things that were interesting to me this episode. I know we have so much meaty stuff to talk about. One, when did Liv learn Chinese?
Yes, right.
And two, when did Mama Pope go to a hair salon for terrorists?
Well,
did anybody notice that she had pieces in her hair when it was time to get on the plane? Her hair was at least 12 inches longer than it was when she came out of prison.
It was banging. Well, clearly,
where's she been?
They I don't know, they maybe brought somebody in.
To do like, just her hair.
All right, I can't send you to Hong Kong with your hair looking like that. I know you said she had a relaxer, but it was sticking up, you know.
I mean, it was messy last time.
Right.
I mean, this time it was flowing. Her skin even looked like it had been exfoliated. Mama Pope had been someplace.
Well, here's what I think about Mama Pope, right? Ostensibly, she has been held in captivity solo for 22 years.
Yes.
And her response to it all is, yeah, your dad held me for 22 years. What's for breakfast?
Right.
Like, she doesn't seem emotionally scarred. She doesn't seem traumatized.
She's real casual, and she wants to pick up dialogue like nothing has happened.
Like, what's going on with your life, Liv?
Who are you these days?
Right. Where's your son? Where's your husband?
I thought that whole scenario of Ray the husband who's a dentist, and Sam the son. I would be so annoyed if someone came back into my life after 30 days talking about this is who I thought you were going to become. Right.
And you're not married. You don't have any kids.
Especially considering Liv's situation is so messy. It's just like, it's just a stab.
Well, that's
where's Ray the husband? Not the president. Stab. Where's Sam? Not the 4 phantom children in Vermont. Stab. It just gets worse every time the woman said something.
Well, I kept waiting for Liv to tell her, well, actually, Mom, I'm sleeping with the President of the United States.
Who, by the way, got on my nerves this episode in a new way? I mean, there were so many other things besides him this episode, but that interaction between he and Jake was downright ridiculous. Is Fitz really still talking about being a hero? Really, Fitz?
Okay, you know what? Here's what I've realized. This show has taken the best 2 characters and the most charismatic relationship on television and made them so bad that they suck all of the energy out of the room when they're on screen. Both Liv and Fitz, to me, are the most boring people on Scandal right now.
I could not understand why Fitz was having that kind of interaction with Jake. I said, this scene couldn't make Jake look better than if he'd healed a couple children. I mean, it was ridiculous. As well as the scene where Fitz is talking to Sally, which we'll get into in a moment. But Fitz is a bully. He bullies Liv, he bullies Sally, he bullies Melly, he picks on women.
Well, he has a lot of control issues. He always needs to be in control.
Right.
And if someone's not doing what he wants, he can't handle it.
Right.
He got really up in Cyrus's face this week, like, why aren't you doing your job? You always tell me you're doing your job. I'm like, Cyrus is about to lose his husband over trying to do his job for you.
Right.
Like, relax.
Right. Before we get into the Cyrus, because that actually was the most interesting part of this whole episode.
I love that.
Yes, I love that. But let's just wrap up Mama Pope. Yes. So, Mama Pope is Maria, according to Olivia, but then Olivia starts having this excellent memory. Her ginkgo biloba kicks in, and she remembers a conversation from 22 odd years ago where someone called the house asking for Marie, who's on the no-fly list. So the question now is Marie a terrorist? That's the implication.
Right.
And Liv says, did she do all the things that my dad put on that list? The question is, what are those things? Are we talking about Marie being the one who killed all those people on that plane?
Well, yes. I mean, I think that's what they implied at the end, which is really the only thing I understood. But I was very lost as to why her name being Marie is the smoking gun.
Right.
I didn't, you know, if her name is Marie, then she is a terrorist. I didn't understand that. So the story is that the mother was on the plane.
Right.
Right before the plane takes off, Liz's father goes and he hauls her off the plane.
Right.
Right? And it was under some, but they thought it was a male.
Yes.
That he yanked off the plane, like Omar or something like that, right?
Yes, Omar Dresden.
Right, okay. So then the plane blows up anyway, and ostensibly Fitz did that, right?
Right, so that's the other thing I don't understand. If this woman was responsible for terroristic acts, is she responsible for this particular act? Is the plane over Iceland her fault?
Right.
And if it is her fault, how does that have to do with Remington? Because our understanding is that Fitz shot that plane out of the air.
Right.
So what are her terroristic acts and what is her responsibility in all of it?
And if she is a terrorist and she's about to be on a plane that is going to be shot down and she's not responsible for it, why take her off the plane? Let her die then.
I don't understand that either.
Why hold her for 22 years when no one knows she's being held? Like, what's the point of that?
Right, never held, never tried.
Right.
Never, I don't get that either. I really don't understand.
I'm assuming next week they're going to explore and expand on all of the things that happened in the last 5 minutes that were shocking.
Right.
Right? Like Quinn and what her deal is.
Right.
And, you know, Mama Pope and this, all the, you know, Harrison, somebody from his past is back apparently, right, that wants to kill him. There's a lot going on.
Let's talk about the storyline that actually interests me this week. I loved the Cyrus,
yes,
and VP and VP hubby and Cyrus hubby. I loved it all, beginning to end. I said,
so good.
This is the part of the show that actually interests me. Forget Quinn and all that other ridiculousness. I love that.
I loved the way that Cyrus's husband, what is his name again? James was acting towards Cyrus. Cyrus knows that James cheated on him, and James is just letting him just roast over the fire.
Well, what was interesting is, I think last week when we did our review, or week before last, we were trying to figure out, did James know that someone was taping him, and was he doing just enough to get pictures? Sounds like James actually followed through and had some sex. And yes, James seems surprised.
He didn't know.
Right, James seems surprised at the fact that there were some pictures being taken.
Which I'm surprised about, because he knows that Cyrus sent him over there to, you know, to be like, basically he said a rent boy, and seduce the VP's husband. But what did he think? Of course there was going to be pictures.
Right, what was going to be the leverage that they were going to use? Because at that point it would just be your word against his word.
Right.
So, I mean, he really went through with it, though. I was surprised that he went through with it.
And the layer I didn't think about was the fact that he was disgusted by Cyrus's plan to shame a man for being gay and in the closet.
I didn't even think about that either.
And when he said that, I was like, oh, that's right. Oh, you're right.
Yes.
That is really bad for a gay man to do that, to use that as a fact to shame someone. But
Cyrus at this point is so far gone in the transgressions, that seemed to me like a tier 1 transgression. I mean, he's willing to commit some crazy offenses against his own husband. Yeah. I really didn't think about that piece, but it is an interesting point. Sally was the one, though, who really hit me with the heat this week when Cyrus brought her the pictures and thought that that was going to be, you know, the trump card. And she looked at those pictures and she said, please, boy, please.
She knew. She knew her husband was gay.
Right.
And so I don't think Cyrus counted on that. I think Cyrus thought she was going to just be shocked.
But I also don't think that he counted on what was a very valid argument from Sally. You are not going to take these pictures, put them out there, put yourself on blast, indicate that the chief of staff's husband is having an affair with a married man who happens to be the VP's husband. Right. You get muddied up so much in this yourself.
And Fitz gets muddied up with this.
Yes. You bring yourself into the mud just as much as you bring me into the mud. So there's no point. You're not going to do this.
Right.
But then Cyrus lied to James in that weak apology, and he said, I didn't give the pictures to Sally.
Right.
And I said, wow, we are still not telling the truth.
He's a gamer, Cyrus. He does not give up. But then he basically tries to blackmail him into staying, right? He's like, go ahead and try to leave me and try to take our baby.
Right.
See how far you get when I show these pictures to a judge.
Right. He's not going to do that.
No, he won't.
He won't do
He's
that.
Bluffing.
But what he did say to James, which was interesting, is you never leave. And I said, doggone it, that's exactly what people like him know. They know that that you're not going anywhere. Therefore, I will do whatever I want to do, and you'll deal with it.
Isn't this the same conversation we had about Love and Hip Hop?
All day, every day. I know you're not going anywhere. Therefore, I have all the power.
I will treat you like dirt, and you will accept it because you're not going to leave.
You can type as many Microsoft Word documents about divorce as you want to, but she'll be here tomorrow morning. Bet you that.
And James looked defeated in that moment.
Because he knows it's the truth.
Ooh, very good storyline.
What's going to happen to the little brown baby? That's what I was wondering.
The brown baby's fine. She's fine.
I was thinking about that little brown baby, but someone needs to come and get Sally's soul. Sally
killed her husband. I didn't see that coming either.
Sally was like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
One of the things I was wondering if she would do, though, is put her husband out there. See, when she received the pictures from Cyrus, I was working on my live, and I said, I wonder if Sally would put those pictures out there, preemptively let the world know that her husband is a homosexual, say that she has to distance herself from that kind of sin, divorce her husband, run the campaign as a single woman, and be on her INDEPENDT, whatever.
No way.
That's what I was wondering.
It wouldn't work. No single woman, no single man has been elected president in 115 years. Much less a woman.
But who's run?
Well, you can't even run. You can't even get that far.
How do we know that? Who's tried?
Well, because the way that you don't just decide to run for president someday. You've got to get backing from organizations.
I don't really feel like when they start all these committees to put together super PACs and figure out where you're going to get funding and start the rounds, who do we really have that's a single candidate out there? Most people who would even be in the running for something like that are already married.
Well, because they know that America does not trust a single person. They think something's wrong with you.
She would not have been forever. We would know why she was now single.
Right, but I think that the public would think too messy. No, thank you.
I don't know. I thought that she could carry that as like the crucifix against homosexuality and really use that in her campaign to get with the right wing. I was thinking all kinds of things about that.
What about her having to swallow the abortion position when her campaign strategist was like, you've got to say you're pro-abortion now?
I thought that was ridiculous because there are a lot of women in this country who are pro-life, and she could win an election being pro-life.
He didn't think so. And
he didn't think so, but she agreed.
Well, she was willing. I think the idea was to show that she's willing to go to all lengths to be president now. Well, now the question is, who's going to come clean up her husband's body?
Cyrus.
And then where they're going to act like he's been? Where they going to act? They're going to have to stage
a murder?
Stage a murder somewhere.
I mean, I feel like it would be better to go ahead and get the divorce as opposed to...
But now she's even better. Forget divorcing him and exposing homosexuality. Now she can run as a widow.
But now she has to be investigated for killing old boy. It's just so messy. So messy. Yeah, that's that.
All right. So remember, everyone, subscribe to our channel and leave us your comments.
Absolutely. And help us clear up what's going on with Liv's mom being a terrorist and the whole bit. If you have some understanding that we clearly don't have, we'd love to hear it. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.